Hayden Winks, Warren Sharp. Let's talk AFC preview here. We're going to go through the three games, give the key thoughts on what we're seeing, what we're thinking. We'll start with the Colts, the 7 seed versus the 2 seed Bills. And in this one, Warren, it seems like at one point this year, the Indianapolis Colts had maybe arguably the best defense in the NFL. They're going to need it in this game because the Bills come in probably as hot as anyone.
They certainly have covered the spread a ton. I think they're 8-0 in their last 8 games, and so there's got a lot of public attraction to them. I do think this number is a little bit high, but when you look at the Indianapolis Colts, this is a team that's played with double-digit leads in 5 straight games. So it's a team that's going to need to figure out ways to come back in the game if the Buffalo Bills are able to get out to a lead themselves. I think Buffalo is going to have some success throwing the ball on first downs here, but the Indianapolis Colts are going to have to figure out a way to get back in this game in the second half, because I do imagine that they will be trailing at halftime. I can tell you that the Colts are a pretty sharp side here. Anytime this number is going to get up to 7, if it does any longer, that's going to get bought up because this very sharp syndicate group likes the Indianapolis Colts plus the 7 here. I just feel like the Indianapolis Colts, when they have trailed, they've gotten back into the game by holding opposing offenses to just 5.6 points in the second half of games. I think it's going to be tough to hold the Bills to that in this game.
And then putting the game in the arm of Phillip Rivers, Hayden, that sounds like trouble.
It does, and they haven't really been tested much either. They have the weakest strength of schedule on the season this year, and I think what you're going to see is the Buffalo defense, where their weakness is playing run defense. They're 22nd in rushing EPA. And when you look at how teams are attacking the Buffalo defense, most teams are running the ball when they can against Buffalo. So I'm expecting that to happen. We've seen Jonathan Taylor kind of have a revolution in these last couple weeks. They're running under center more often. That's something he was more comfortable with at Wisconsin, and he's been a huge, big play threat. So I think the one weakness is possibly off the edge for the Bills and against their linebackers, who kind of been playing through some injuries right here. So for the Colts to kind of stay with this, kind of shrink the game, I think they're going to come out, run the ball. Hopefully the game stays within the margin, because like Warren was saying, I'm not sure how much the Colts can be playing from behind if it's just going to be T.Y. Hilton on Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, and it seems like, Hayden, that for them to win, this Buffalo offense cannot click like they've clicked the last few weeks here. How likely you think that is? Yeah,
so the Colts defense is really interesting because they've been playing a lot of too high, and then they kind of switched over to some single high stuff. And I'm not sure if they have enough guys out there, especially if Rocky Ya-Sin, who's their second cornerback, is not going to play. I would really like that matchup for John Brown. We'll see what Cole Beasley, if he's going to play or not. But even if he doesn't, I think the Bills still have enough guys to run three receiver sets and some 4 receiver set stuff. So I'm guessing the Colts are going to dare Buffalo to run the ball, probably play a lot of cover 2, and just hopefully that the Bills would decide to run the ball. But I don't really see that happening. The Bills are too sharp. I think it's just going to play a lot of downfield passing, get Josh Allen out of the pocket, scrambling around a little bit. I think that's probably going to end up being too much for the Colts.
So, Warren, I'll give you the final word on this game. Most likely outcome in this Colts versus Bills matchup.
I think, like Hayden said, even if the Indianapolis Colts try to dare the Bills to get them to run the football, I think Brian Daboll and Josh Allen come out throwing the ball here, particularly on first downs. I think they will have some success. I expect Phillip Rivers to be passing the ball in the second half, and he played one game, I believe, in 2019 in sub 35 degrees. But prior to that, he hasn't played in sub 35 degrees since 2014. So he doesn't have a lot of experience. This is Buffalo's home field advantage here, playing in the cold. I think the most likely outcome is that the Colts are going to be trailing in the second half. I do agree, one point to add to Hayden, the Buffalo Bills do have the number 30 ranked defense against explosive runs. So a prop on Jonathan Taylor over longest rushing attempt, I think, could be interesting. But I overall think that the Buffalo Bills will walk away with the win, although I'm not confident that they blow them out and get this cover. I think there is a chance the Colts could keep it respectable, but I do expect Buffalo to move on to the next round.
And the Bills have that home field advantage. Up to 6,700 fans are going to be there, which in Buffalo could sound like 80,000, like quite honestly, depending on which fans they pick there. Next game, let's talk about, we just talked about the running game, explosive plays. We expect that for sure in our Ravens versus Titans game here. So, Hayden, it's almost like which team is going to be able to rack up the most rushing yards isn't even the question. It's which team can stop the other team from doing that.
Yes, and I think I'm way more likely to be favoring the Ravens defense, especially up front. They're getting a little bit healthier. I think Calais Campbell might be back. They might get Yannick Ngakoue back. They might get Jimmy Smith back. So the Ravens are coming in pretty healthy on both sides of the ball. And I think that's one of the more underrated things when you're looking at all these props, who's going to win the Super Bowl. It's just player health. And right now the Ravens are getting healthier and the Titans aren't. They're missing a lot of guys. We're going to see if Roger Saffold, their left guard, plays. He's a game time call. But even if he returns, the Titans are not going to solve this issue. They cannot rush the passer. They're 31st in adjusted sack rate. They're 28th in EPA on defense in general. So I don't see them having enough guys on the edge or at linebacker to kind of stop this zone option read stuff that Lamar Jackson's been doing with J.K. Dobbins. And I think that J.K. Dobbins, he provides this explosive element that the Ravens, when they were going through this funk early in the season, they were just missing out on some of these big plays. And I think Marquise Brown looks a little bit better. And I think J.K. Dobbins is really helping out that offense.
They're coming in as one of the hottest teams in the NFL. But Warren, are we forgetting that this is the playoffs and what happened last year and everything is different in the playoffs? So throw everything out.
Well, I think we know that the Titans have had a lot of success. They had a lot of success last year against this defense of Baltimore, and they had success earlier this season. Now, they were playing from behind in that game. Baltimore, people forget, had a big lead early in that game. I think one under-discussed storyline in this one is Baltimore's offense. We talk a lot about Lamar Jackson and struggling. He can't win a playoff game. Baltimore's played this team twice. They're 0-2 against the Tennessee Titans the last couple of years. In regulation, in those two games, they've had 20 offensive drives. They've punted on only 3 of those drives. They've turned the ball over 8 times if you count turnovers on downs, and they've gone 2 of 8 inside of the red zone. So the Baltimore Ravens offense has had a lot of success. They just need to capitalize, and they can't make mistakes in these key critical situations. They can't afford to turn the football over, and they need to walk away with more 7s than 3s down inside of the red zone. If they can do both of those things, which I think are within their control, this Tennessee Titans defense is not nearly as good as they were perhaps last season, then Baltimore should have some success. The thing is, though, I think that Mike Vrabel and the Titans are just inside these guys' heads. If you look at the play calling from the Baltimore Ravens offense in that meeting earlier this season, the first half of the game, they go massive run heavy. They're over 60% run. I criticize the Tennessee Titans and Arthur Smith for going too run heavy to start games. Baltimore went way run heavy to start that game. They have a lead, and then in the second half, they switched to go majorly pass heavy, even though they're playing with a lead. Now, fortunately, Lamar passed the ball really well there, but that first meeting, they got rattled. They ended up throwing a ton of passes. In the second half of this last meeting, even though they had a lead, they're throwing a ton of passes. I'm not quite sure what Baltimore is going to want to do offensively here, but I expect a good game, and I expect some offense out of the Ravens. They just need to capitalize on these situations, and they should walk away with a lot of points down in Tennessee on Sunday.
All right, Hayden, so I'll give you the final thought on this Ravens-Titans game. So what do you think is the most likely outcome?
I want to be betting on the Ravens. They're at a 3-point spread, and I also don't mind going on the over as well. We talked about how the Titans defense just can't hold it together, and I just don't think that people are accounting for the variance, like Warren was saying, with the turnovers, the red zone scoring. When you're looking at smaller samples, that stuff can get really fluky. I want to look big picture. The Ravens in 2019 were dominating in the regular season. The last couple of weeks with Lamar coming back to full health, he's been dominating as well. So I don't see that how the Titans defense can hold up here. And I want to be playing through the injuries. I'm not sure if Roger Saffold's going to play. I know Jaron Brown is not going to be playing at linebacker for the Titans. So give me the Ravens here. I'm expecting a lot of rushing yards from the team.
And for all those that say the Ravens haven't done it in the postseason, I mean, it's like they played playoff games here all the way down the stretch. They had to win all those to get in. They are in. They are high flying right now. Our final game in the AFC, guys, is the Browns versus the Steelers. And Hayden, I have no idea how to even look at this game. Because, I mean, the Steelers, I don't really know who they are right now. And the Cleveland Browns, I don't know who's going to be on the field for them.
Yeah, exactly. They have so many COVID protocols. And I was going to ask Warren about how do you reflect the coaching difference? Like the point spread for the Browns implied team totals only dropped 0.75 points since that news is broke. And to me, Kevin Stefanski, what's a little bit different about Kevin Stefanski versus the other coaches is it's his first year. So the rest of his assistants haven't been there and working together that long term. Plus, there's just some assistant coaches that aren't going to be playing. And to me, the Browns rely on their scheme, their play calling more so than other teams. Baker Mayfield's not the guy that's going to be creating by himself very often. So to me, the coaching staff, them not being able to go through normal practices this week, Kevin Stefanski not being able to run the offense on Sunday or on Saturday, I feel like the point spread should have gone wider. Warren, what do you think about that?
Well, I agree in terms of their team total, potentially should have dropped a little bit further. Kevin Stefanski, in my mind, the coach of the year. And he's, as you said, the play caller. So it's very difficult to lose a guy like that who's going to be running your offense. And I think the other element to your point is, what was Baker Mayfield without Kevin Stefanski? Now, this offense is what Baker Mayfield has thrived in, how they're using multiple tight ends and they're giving him more protection in the pocket. We know that's the big bugaboo for Baker, is if he gets pressured, he's going to crack. So I think that the Steelers are going to have the advantage here and working with some offensive coordinators around the league. The one thing that I noticed, obviously you got your scripting in the first quarter, but it's the adjustments that they make in game, some of the play calling and the sequencing that they make. It's not just what they're calling, but when they're calling it, how they're setting it up. And I feel like Stefanski does an extremely good job with that. I think that that's going to struggle. I think the confidence level here, as I transition over to talking about the Steelers, is really dramatic. I think Baker, without that guy in his corner calling the plays and being able to consult with him on the sideline, is going to get Baker down a little bit in this game. And he's a very emotional player, in my opinion. On the other side, to contrast, Ben Roethlisberger is just supremely confident. He absolutely dominates the Cleveland Browns. He's had a lot of success against them in the past. And I think the fact that he had this rest last week, he throws the ball a lot more since coming off the elbow surgery with his legs. He's commented on that, and he did not throw the ball at all last week, so he had a chance to rest his upper body and his lower body. He says he feels completely refreshed right now from that. The interesting element to me in this game is just, what are we going to get out of the play calling of the Pittsburgh Steelers? I definitely think it favors them because they're going to be unpredictable. But if you're the defensive coordinator from the Cleveland Browns, what are you studying this week? I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers go out last game against the Colts in the second half, and Ben's pulling all this stuff out from the pass, calling his own plays offensively, throwing the football a little bit more down the field. Offense is being less predictable. I've been on record. I don't love Randy Fichtner, their offense coordinator. Did they spend some time during this sort of pseudo bye week and let Ben work a little bit more things into the offense that he likes to use against Cleveland? I think there's going to be some things here that Cleveland's defense just really struggles with. So in addition to Hayden's point where the Cleveland offense may be out of sync due to the play caller not being there, you got the Steelers offense that could throw some things at Cleveland that they weren't seeing earlier this year.
Yeah, what do you think of that, Hayden? Because it seems like the Steelers, for whatever reason, have been reluctant to go deep down the field at times this season. Maybe that was Big Ben's health. You had some injuries, some COVID issues with Cleveland secondary last week. Might not have those this week. How do you see that matchup playing out?
Yeah, I think it's the two storylines. It's Ben's health, because he had that knee injury that he was playing through. But like Warren was saying, when your elbow isn't at full health, you really have to drive with your lower body. So I do think the bye week's going to help. But the big storyline is still the Browns and the COVID, because Denzel Ward's probably not going to play. His backup, Kevin Johnson, probably not going to play. Andrew Sendejo's out. They've lost their starting left guard, his backup. They've lost Olivier Vernon. And just going beyond that, Odell Beckham's out. They lost their second round strong safety Grant Delpit before the season. They haven't had their second rounder from the previous year in cornerback Greedy Williams. So they're relying basically on backups in the entire secondary. And with the Steelers ranking in first in neutral pass rate, I really do not like that matchup for the Browns secondary. I think we could see maybe the best football Big Ben's played in months. And I think that maybe the Steelers are going a little bit overlooked just because recency bias plays into such a big thing. But I do think the bye week really helped out the Steelers offense in general.
So Warren, final word here. It seems like you guys are both pretty confident that the Steelers could show up big in this game.
I agree. I think that, me personally, I like the Steelers. Got them at 4. The line opened 3.5. The line's up to 6. Now it did dip back down to 5.5 a little bit because there was some sharp money that came in after they already took Steelers at -3.5 and -4, came in and bought a little bit of Cleveland at the higher number, trying to get a little opportunity there at the middle. But I think that the right side here ultimately is going to be the Steelers unless Ben Roethlisberger cracks. I know the Steelers don't have the run game to support a big lead late in this game. Hopefully their defense can step up here. But I do think that there might be some interesting short yardage packages with Dobbs, Josh Dobbs getting back into the mix here that the Browns haven't really seen a lot of, and that could help the Pittsburgh Steelers in those situations late.
Those are our picks. We're sticking to them. Warren, Hayden, thanks.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.